Good afternoon, my name is Karen Munoz. I'm here at Eagle Public Radio with EPHS alumni Dr. Jenny Dorsey. She works as a veterinarian at the Eagle Pass Veterinary Diagnostic Hospital, helping the community day in and day out. She was nominated and chosen to be EP Monthly's Woman of the Year. Hi, Dr. Dorsey. Thank you for visiting our studio today.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure having you. Can you tell me a little more about yourself? What's your daily routine like?
Sure. So, we're open 7 to 7 at the animal hospital. So basically, I go in usually 8 o'clock in the morning. Our daily routine pretty much in the hospital is take care of our hospitalized patients first. Then we usually roll into surgery. Any surgeries that are scheduled, we do that first thing in the morning, try and get all of those done in the morning. And then appointments for the rest of the afternoon up until 5 or 6. And we do offer emergency hours after that up until midnight.
Well, it sounds like you have a really busy schedule.
Yes, very busy.
Backtracking a little bit, can you tell me a little bit more about what your high school self was like?
Let's see. Well, back in high school, I really didn't know what I wanted to do. It wasn't until I actually went to college that I knew I wanted to be a veterinarian. So pretty much took all my classes here at Eagle Pass High School, knowing that I wanted to go to college, but wasn't entirely sure what I wanted to do. So I did take photojournalism in high school, which was very interesting and fun for me. But my passion's always been in science. That is something that from the beginning I always had interest in. So I was always really focused in all of my science and biology classes.
Once in college, when did you realize that you wanted to be a veterinarian?
It probably wasn't until like my third year of undergraduate. I did all my basics the first 2 years. And then when I started taking my the more intense classes, I really found a passion in all of the science courses. And so then it was, I didn't know whether I wanted to be a veterinarian or a medical doctor, but I was a vet tech for 3.5 years, and that's what really, I found my passion and interest in veterinary medicine, and that's where, I was really kind of pushed to choose that career path.
Did you ever have any doubts going in?
I never had any doubts going in. I just wasn't sure if I was going to be able to get in.
And how'd you overcome those obstacles?
I worked really hard the last 2 years of undergrad. I really kind of came to light that I needed to make good grades or the best grades that I could. I was involved in a lot of, organizations after school and my job that involved animals. I did volunteer work for the Texas Marine Mammal Stranding Network for about a year, which is basically rescuing and releasing stranded dolphins or turtles or anything like that. So I just tried to really get involved in, anything that I could that had to do with animals, and I gained a lot of confidence with the people that I worked with, the veterinarian that I worked with, and at that point I knew that as long as I tried hard, I could do it.
Can you tell me more about the experience with marine wildlife dolphins you were saying? Yeah,
so basically what happens is, I went to undergrad at Texas A&M in Corpus Christi, and unfortunately, they do see a lot of strandings, which basically means that, any type of marine wildlife can wash up on the shore, whether they're sick or their mom, left them or something kind of happened where they got separated from the mom. And so these guys wash up on shore and they can't really get back to the deeper waters to go, back to their family or anything like that. So we basically have a team that's, knowledgeable and equipped to pick up these animals. We take them back to the facility, which basically has a big water tank, and that's where we house them until we can rehabilitate them. Whether they're sick, we find out if they're sick, medicate them, whatever it is that's wrong, the reason for them stranding in the first place. We try and get them back to a healthy condition where they are able to be released back into the wild. There are some animals that never are able to be fully, released back into the wild because either they've been in captivity for too long, so they think people are their friends, or they just never get back to healthy status. And those animals usually will go to like a long-term facility like SeaWorld or something like that, somewhere where they can be kept and taken care of because they can't go back into the wild.
Wow, I think that experience is amazing. I think a lot of people from Eagle Pass wouldn't imagine that someone from here went out and did all that stuff.
Yeah, it was a pretty amazing experience to be able to actually get in a tank with a dolphin.
And not a lot of people can say that. Do you think where you're from matters in that case? Since you're from Eagle Pass, I think there's a certain stigma.
I don't think it matters where you come from. It really just, getting yourself out there I think it's important to get out of your comfort zone, leave the small town, so that you are able to experience all that the world has to offer. There's so many opportunity out there in the bigger cities, and then hopefully, be able to bring all that back to the smaller towns to educate people that, yes, there are so many things out there that you can do that people just don't know about.
What do you think the biggest hurdle is when transitioning into that?
I think the biggest hurdle is that people just don't know. I've done a lot of career days in the last couple months that we've been here, and I actually did one yesterday at the junior college, and the kids just don't know. They're asking me, well, where do you have to go to be a veterinarian, and can you do that here? And I think it's just mainly because they're not informed well. We need to push them to go out and experience what the world has to offer, because it is a small town and there's not a whole lot of opportunity here, but there's opportunity elsewhere. And then, the nice thing is to bring it all back, because Eagle Pass is growing, and, eventually it'd be nice to have more opportunity here where people could actually stay here and get that experience. But it is always nice to kind of see what's out there.
Yeah, of course. And as a successful businesswoman and veterinarian, what qualities do you think young girls, especially in this town, should aspire to have to be successful in life?
The veterinary profession, interestingly enough, is about 90% women. That's good to know. That's very, good for the fellow women in this town and kids to know that being a woman, being a minority, those are all advantages that people from this town have and should utilize. You can go anywhere and be selected out of anyone else because you're a minority and you're a woman. So, back 50 years ago, it was mainly men in the profession, and now it's mainly women. So that goes to show, that goes to say something. My veterinary class had about 100 females and maybe 8 or 9 males.
Wow. Any good habits that students should pick up now that they're in high school?
Yeah, get out there, ask lots of questions. Don't just stick to one school. Kind of see what everything has to offer. Don't be afraid to try something new, because you never know, that may be just where your heart's at and what you decide that you want to do.
Right, and you never know. So I think that with the choices you made, you have a very fulfilling career, it seems like. And so what's the most satisfying thing about it?
I think the most satisfying, well, there's several satisfying things, but being able to save a life is extremely satisfying. Obviously, that doesn't happen every single time, but when it does, it is the most satisfying thing to have an animal come in that's on death's door and I can fix it, or, a broken leg and I can fix it. Those are all satisfying things. Not only that, but being able to educate clients about different diseases that we see that they just never knew about because there was no one here to educate them. And, making them more knowledgeable is also very satisfying.
So just bringing back what you've learned, bringing it back to the community.
Yes.
And what 3 characteristics do you feel have helped you through education, opening a business, and being a mom as well?
Persistence, definitely. Confidence, and being strong-willed.
Would you say that a woman can have it all? You have a successful career, a business, and a loving family. Do you think it could be done?
Definitely. I think every single woman in this city can have it all if they put their mind to it.
And what did you see in our small town that made you want to open up a practice here in Eagle Pass?
Eagle Pass has been without a veterinarian for at least the last 12 years. It is an area, that is in very high need of a veterinarian. So that was something that's always kind of stood out to me ever since the day that I left. The need is so great here. It's almost impossible to fail. You bring back something that there's so many things in this town that we need. It's almost impossible for anyone to fail if you bring it back. So that should be, something positive for everybody to think about when they leave to go fulfill their career. There's always room for another doctor. There's always room for a veterinarian. There's always room for a new business because we don't have it to begin with. So there's always room for it. And failure is almost zero.
And what do you hope to see in Eagle Pass soon? It doesn't have to be necessarily directly related to veterinarians and doctors, but how would you hope to see our community grow?
Just from being in the veterinary business for the last couple of months, there's a huge need for a grooming facility or a boarding facility. Everyone asks us all, every day we get at least 5 to 10 people, do you guys board? Do you guys groom? Unfortunately, we do not, but if anyone wanted to come and do that, they would definitely be successful because there is a high need for a boarding facility here. So I see all of those things being successful if there's just someone that would be willing to do it.
Hopefully we see that in the future. We have talent leaving but also coming back to serve the community. what advice would you give your children? You have hopes for them, you have dreams for them, but what advice would you give them specifically?
You know, they're still very little, so they probably wouldn't take my advice. But you know, just find what you love and keep at it. And there's no doubt that you can't do whatever it is that you want to do. So we're just going to help them as much as we can, push them and find the right place for them wherever it is that they need to be in order to fulfill their dreams.
As a final piece of advice, I think for any girls who think their dreams might be too big, their aspirations set too high, what words of encouragement would you give them? No
dreams are too big, I don't think, but I always think about making, you know, maybe small goals at a time and hitting those one at a time so that you don't feel too overwhelmed or like your goals are too big for you. So instead of setting this one big goal, maybe setting, you know, 5 small goals so that the end goal is that big goal, but you have, you know, you don't have to get there overnight. You just take it step at a time.
Thank you. That's very inspiring. We hope to see more young women like you in our community as they grow up here in Eagle Pass and coming back. We're just very glad to have you here, and we're honored to have chosen you for our EP Monthly Woman of the Year.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you again.